On this episode of Chop It Up, I'm going to be talking about Susan Wittig Albert's 25th book in her China Bells mystery series, which is called Last Chance Olive Branch. And I got to get this out, girl, but Last Chance Olive Branch. So what's up, everybody? It's me, Troi, and I'm back in with another video, and I'm going to be talking about Last Chance Olive Branch. As you guys know at this point, I bought this book at the beginning of April, which is upon its release date, which was April 4th. So it is the latest in Susan Wittig Albert's China Bells series, and I have to say I gave this book maybe 3 stars. But just a little background to plug this in quickly. The series is told primarily through the first person's perspective of the main protagonist, who is, of course, China Bells. And the interesting thing to me that I love about the series is that China Bells has this duality about her that I absolutely adore. You know, in her former life she was a defense attorney, and in her present life, or the present, you know, timeline of this particular series, she is currently an herb shop owner. The theme of this series has a lot to do with herbs and, you know, botany and that sort of thing. But on the flip side, I love the fact that, you know, China as a sleuth, she has that intelligence of her defense attorney that she can kind of spot criminals, you know, as she plots along and sleuths and detects and investigates. You know what I'm getting to, girl. So let me just go ahead and break down what this book is about. There's an A story and there's a B story. The A story is primarily told through the perspective of the series sleuth and star China Bells, and then the B story is sometimes it's more of her investigating a different side crime, and sometimes it's just a different perspective from a different character, totally told in the third person. In Last Chance Olive Branch, the B story happens to be told or through the third person perspective of her husband, Mike McQuaid. Now, as you may or may not know, Mike McQuaid, China's husband, was once a cop, and then he became a professor at a college, and at this current state in the series, he is a private investigator. And on top of that, he has the history of being a Texas Ranger. However, nonetheless, his past comes back in Last Chance Olive Branch in the form of an escaped convict. And this convict's name is Max Mantle, and he has recently escaped from the Huntsville Men's Correctional Facility and is heading straight for Pecan Springs to seek revenge on Mike McQuaid. But because Mike McQuaid was just the one who happened to put him behind bars, there's a lot of other moving parts and other individuals who were involved with this with the conviction of Max Mantle. So as he's progressing towards Pecan Springs, he's taking out like witnesses to his court case, as well as prosecutors and that sort of thing. So he's leaving a trail of bodies as he seeks out vengeance. So you really can't get into the A story without having that information on the B story, because Mike McQuaid has decided, you know what, I don't want China anywhere near the house with Max Mantle on the loose. So China and her best friend Ruby, they already set up this plan to go to this olive ranch where they were going to do this workshop as it pertains to creating olive oil. Naturally, China is reluctant to go, considering the fact that, you know, Max is on the loose and McQuaid is doing everything he can to gather up his forces to stop Max. But really, McQuaid pushes China to go, and then therefore she goes, and then that is where the A story jumps in, where really it is not really a crime going on in China's part of the neck of the woods. Nonetheless, with China's situation at the olive ranch, she's introduced to the olive ranch owner, which is a woman named Maddie. Maddie is having some current issues regarding her property as well as her olive oil business, and you know, there's a lot of contesting in court regarding, you know, who is the actual owner of this particular ranch. And then that's where China plugs in a lot of her legal sense to sort of sort out, you know, and rearrange this puzzle so that, you know, that Maddie can get the answers that she needs, otherwise she risks losing her property. So with that being said, if I haven't repeated myself, I gave this book 3 stars because a lot of the things that are going on in this book is so, I don't want to say par of the course, but it's so redundant at this point in this series. Going from McQuaid's B story, as he is, you know, playing this cat and mouse game with the, you know, the escaped convict Max, a lot of that is so, like, it's been done before in this series. I think it was Rosemary Remembered, where another convict escaped out of a prison or some sort and came after Mike McQuaid. So that is, it's redundant. It's been done before in this series, so that was really nothing new. And then of course, as you got to the end, I found it to be a lot of really anticlimactic. But not only that, what Max's method was to sort of draw out McQuaid was something that's a used theme within this book, and it involves McQuaid's can't give that part away, but very much used material. Like Albert phoned this one in. And the same applies to China's A story, where she's at the olive ranch trying to sort out the inheritance of the ranch and the olive oil business. You know, with China, there's anytime she's going somewhere outside of her small town of Pecan Springs, she's always involved in some sort of legal drama, specifically something involving property court and inheritance and that sort of thing. So that was like absolutely nothing new, as well as the sort of budding romance between some of the characters within the book. Nothing new, nothing new, nothing new. Really, that's kind of all there really was to it. You know, Mike McQuaid, he's a ranger, he's a private investigator, he's pulling up his team, he's going after the criminal. Very, very done. And then there's China, you know, solving, you know, this whole inheritance deal. All of this has been done before. Therefore, the only really thing that I got from this book is the fact that it was just comforting to come back to these characters. You know, when you get to 25 books and you're still reading the series, then you pretty much are loyal to, you know, the characters in the series, and you love to go back and, you know, revisit them and see what's going on in their lives. So that really was kind of the only plus I found. But I will say that there's another interesting thing that was introduced, or conversation that was introduced in this book, and it had a lot to do with interracial dating. On top of that alone, I do think that Susan Wittig Albert, giving, you know, 25 books, she does sort of go into different themes that you don't probably normally or traditionally see in a cozy mystery. So with that being said, it took her long enough to get here, but I'm glad that she kind of introduced that in as well, because without that, you know, to really perk me up as I was reading the book, I would have just kind of just coasted right through. I'm interested in seeing where she leads the topic of interracial dating, you know, and further within the series. You know, some people are probably like, oh, that's something that an author in this particular genre shouldn't touch, but I'm like, touch everything, touch it all, like touch it all, because yeah, you phoned this one in, so we need to have some kind of sort of, you know, recourse in this whole problem that'll keep us, you know, geared up for the next book. With that being said, I gotta go, y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease. And if you love this series, then please drop me a comment below and let me know what was your favorite book within the series. I can say without a doubt my favorite book within this series was the 5th book, which is Rueful Death Off the Chain. Okay, bye.